morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Sir Meerkat, and welcome back to the Moto Meerkat channel. So for today's video, I'm going to bring you my first ever sort of story time video, I guess you'd call it. Bit of a cringe word to use on YouTube these days, but it is a story that happened in my life, and it's motorsport related, so I thought it could be interesting. So to set the scene, myself, my mum, and my dad had gone on holiday to Florida. I believe we'd gone to Orlando, but we were travelling around a little bit. And my brother was at university, and he's like 8 years older than me, so that would put me at about, what would that be, 10 or 11, probably about 11. And look at these photos. So I have, there was a camera that we took with us to the race, and oh my god, I think it's in about 0.2 megapixels, so I apologise for the quality of all the videos, but there's some photos of me on there, and Jesus Christ, look at me, I look like an actual fetus. I was amazed at the actual race, how like loud the cars are, and how you're even like in quite the high rows, you're quite close because they do it practically vertically, the seats. So the cars going boom, 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 boom past is like, the wind and the noise is just immense. It's crazy. So the race I went to was the 2011 Daytona 500. I don't actually remember any of the race really. I was a little bit too young, and I was at the stage where I wasn't hugely into motorsport quite yet. It was sort of more of a novelty to go to the race. All I remember is that I managed to eat 2 large pizzas during the race because it was so bloody long, and I think my dad drank a lot of beer, but yeah, keeping in the pizzas. You don't keep that kind of double chin at that age for nothing. So according to the Bleacher Report that I looked up online, because obviously I don't remember any of the race, apparently it was considered one of the wildest Daytona 500s in recent memory. So I'm glad I went to one of the most crazy ones, but I don't remember what happened at all. So they said that the race had the record amount of cautions and lead changes, and the young prospect at the time, Trevor Bayne, managed to clinch the victory. No idea who that is, but in case you like NASCAR, there you go.
Who knows how to win from that position? That's where he won the Bud Shootout from.
Edwards and Gilliland down to the inside.
Where did that 34 come from?
Try to spoil the party.
Oh my God!
They spoiled the party for Kurt Busch and Montoya in here. They come through turn 4.
Gilliland, former pole sitter of the 500. Edwards has room underneath. Now he pushes Trevor Bayne.
It's over.
Cinderella.
Trevor Bayne is going to win the Daytona 500.
Unbelievable.
Happy birthday, Trevor Bayne, 20 years old.
So I kind of wish I'd paid more attention now as a child, but hey ho, I can't go back in time and change it. It was quite a cool experience though. So after the race was over, we were transported back to our hotel. So we booked it with like a travel company sort of thing, just to sort it all out for us, because again, we're from the UK, we know nothing about NASCAR. We didn't know what would be good seats or anything like that. So we got it all sorted by us with this excursion company, and they took us back to the hotel on these coaches. Now, these style of coaches are very, very common in the UK. I don't know how to describe them. They're not like red London buses, like they're proper coaches like you'd have on a school trip type thing. However, in America, it is not illegal to not have seatbelts. So, like most coaches and buses in America don't have seatbelts, which I find completely crazy, and this is where our story takes a turn for the worst. So we had a brilliant day at the race. It was super fun, even though I didn't really know what was going on. So we managed to get back to the coach, and we were actually the first back. So obviously, being whatever I was, sort of 11, I was like, well, cool kids sit at the back of the bus, obviously, so that's exactly where I want to sit. So I was like, come on mom, come on dad, let's go sit at the back, let's go sit at the back. And they were like, fine, we'll sit at the back. So there were 3 seats at the back next to like this toilet at the back. So it was myself in the window seat, my mum next to me in the middle, and then my dad in the aisle seat. So we sat down, whatever, just chilled out, everyone else got on the bus. So then we left the Daytona, what would you call it, raceway, arena, area, whatever, and leaving, obviously, it's the Daytona 500. It's a huge event in Florida, and so there was absolutely loads of traffic. So we're sat in this traffic, and the driver has a brainwave. He thinks, why am I sat in all this traffic on the main roads when I could go down the side roads and save all this time? How fantastic would that be? So we whip off down the left-hander, down all these side roads, like going past people's houses in this bloody coach, which was definitely off the route we were supposed to take. So as we're traveling down one of these side routes, we're thinking, wow, we're saving so much time here, this is great. But what the driver spots to see is a big speed bump in the road. So he's doing about 30 miles an hour, 30, maybe a little bit more, in a coach, and we hit this speed bump at full pelt without any seatbelts on. So it all sort of happened in slow motion really, we hit the bump, and obviously immediately being at the back, you get the sort of flip effect, and we absolutely flew. So my dad, being in the aisle seat, got thrown up and forwards, so he went flying down the aisle, complete, like, glasses off, everything, lost all his possessions out of his pockets, no idea what was going on. Myself and my mum, who were sort of protected by the seats in front of us, just flew up into those, and into the, so they had the ceiling with, like, what do you call it, aircon and all that sort of jazz on the top. So our heads absolutely smashed into the ceiling. However, being a mum, as the situation sort of started to happen in slow motion, my mum screamed my name and was like, John, to the side of me. So I'm sat there, I don't know, I must have been on like a Game Boy or something like that, I would imagine. I did have a sick Game Boy Micro, that was amazing. But yeah, I think I was just playing on that. And she shouts my name, so I like turn to like be like, what? I just turn. As I turn, that's when we get thrown up in the air. So the motion of like twisting and getting pushed up from below very, very hard absolutely ruined my back. So yeah, when I finally landed on the seat, my back was in agony, and obviously being at 11 or 12, it was probably more dramatic than I would be now. But I do remember it really, really hurt, and just moving at all, like turning to the side or whatever, was so painful. So the guys on the bus, the driver and whatever, got me to lie down on the seats at the back, and someone called an ambulance for me. So after 911 was called, the ambulance arrived. The ambulance people, the personnel, decided to put me on a back brace just in case I'd broken my neck. So if you don't know what one of those are, I'll put a picture on screen now. Basically, it's just a thing with a massive strap around your head so that you can't move your head side to side of your back around in case you've broken bones and stuff, because if you then move further, it can break them further and cause like proper severe damage. But I remember after like 10 or 15 minutes on this backboard of them getting me out of the bus and getting me in the ambulance, I was in so much more pain than I had been from the hitting the roof. That backboard hurt so much, because obviously your back's naturally in sort of a curved position from your neck down to your back and to your arse, and mine was dead straight. So, oh my god, it was so painful. I finally got to the hospital, I had some x-rays done, and the doctors just told me that I had just pulled some muscles really badly and there were just some slight rips in my back. So nothing particularly crazy. I hadn't broken any bones in my neck or back or anything, which was great. But yeah, maybe a little bit of amateur dramatics from younger John there. I remember that the staff and the facilities you went to were lovely, and I remember thinking at the time, being like 11 or whatever I was, like, wow, these are so much nicer than British hospitals. Like, why can't the NHS be like this? And then I've only just realised, 10 years on, oh, that's because America, you have to pay for all your medical stuff. And I've just realised now that, oh, we must have had to pay for that. So I asked my parents, I was like, wait, do we have to pay for this? Like, I never even thought of that. And they were like, yeah, that was like a couple of $1,000s just to be getting the ambulance out and doing all that stuff. And I was like, what? But luckily, as it was the tour company's fault that we went down the back road, and for obviously hitting this speed bump at a considerable amount of miles an hour, they in the end offered to pay the medical bills for us, which was good. So I apologise to the bus driver that I must have felt quite bad for hurting me. So I'm okay if you're watching this. But luckily, yeah, in the end my neck and my back weren't broken. It was just a few pulled muscles, so we're all good. So that is my story of how I nearly broke my neck at the Daytona 500. If you enjoyed this story and you want to see more stories I may have in the motorsport world, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to my channel for lots more motorsport content to come very soon. Let me know if you've ever been to the Daytona 500 and if it's a race you'd like to go to in future, if you like NASCAR at all, or what your feelings on it. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you meerkats soon. Bye guys.